right, we're back here with Captain Marty. Going to hear another one of those great stories. We actually have a bit of an audience today, Marty, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I got a question, and you may have a story about this. I don't know, but you lived so close to like Cape Canaveral, didn't you?
Well, yes.
And with the moon in the news here recently, like in the, what is it, Artesia? I don't know. I don't mess with the planets.
Obviously.
Yeah. So, being that close and didn't...
Brought back a lot of memories.
Okay, I want to hear about it.
Well, brought back a lot of memories. And I grew up in the 60s and 70s at Ponce Inlet, Florida.
Right.
That's the inlet at the south end of Daytona Beach. It's where the old south turn of the old beach track that NASCAR was founded on was, as you know, Justin, was a block from my house.
Yep.
But also a big headboat fleet was right there. And that headboat fleet, one of the things we did all through the Apollo missions was the moon trip, the moon launches. And it was a great experience. I'll be back in just a minute to share that with you.
When lines are tight and the bite is on, you need fuel that keeps up with the action. Introducing Sport Fisher, the drink built for anglers and adventurers who never quit chasing the next big catch. With bold flavor and serious kick, Sport Fisher keeps you energized from the first cast to the last run offshore. Whether you're chasing tuna, marlin, largemouth bass, or just for a great day on the water, crack open a can and fuel the catch. Grab yours today and learn more at sportfisherenergy.com. Sport Fisher, because legends don't run out of energy.
At the south end of Roanoke Island, in a quiet little village, lies a marina known for having one of the finest fishing fleets on the Outer Banks. Whether it be an offshore excursion, a nearshore charter, or headboat fishing, Wanchese Marina is where to go. Wanchese Marina is a full-service marina, complete with a fueling dock, bait, tackle, ice, and the landing grill restaurant. All of this is just a few minutes from some of the finest fishing spots around. Book online at wanchesemarina.com. Wanchese Marina, 4457 Mill Landing Road, Wanchese.
All right, Marty, before you get started with that story, I'm really curious to hear it. We do have an audience here. We got a gentleman, Mr. Is it David?
Dave.
All right, Mr. Dave.
Bitter.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, Mr. Dave Bitter, but he's a sweet guy. We've been talking before we got into
Fellow
the stories.
gym rat, no less.
Yes,
I can.
Mr. Dave, happy to have you here. He's got a big bumper. Did I say it right? Did I mess that up?
Sure did. The Big Bumper Company, and he's got a great dockside bumper put between a boat and a pylon.
Yep.
And he flagged me down to the gym today and said, "Just take a look at this, see what you think." And right off the bat, I was impressed.
Yeah, it's definitely a neat. I mean, it's big, but give me that slogan again.
Yeah, protects big, stows small.
Protects big, stows small.
Yeah, because it's deflatable. And it's stowable. That's another word he uses a lot.
There you go.
Let me tell you, with as much of our fleet is world-class travelers, they travel. A lot of them are going to the Pacific. And, a lot of them go on big ships, but a lot of them also go through the Panama Canal. And then you have the Mexican fleet, the Bahamas fleet. A lot of our boats, almost all of them, travel.
Right.
And when you're traveling, you don't have room for a lot of big, rigid bumpers. But this company has come out with a deflatable, inflatable, however you want to look at it, rugged too.
Yeah.
As you've seen a bumper.
Right. Well, we're definitely going to have Mr. Dave talk a little bit more about that in the near future. But I gotta hear about these moon launches or whatnot. Talk to me. Let's hear the story, Marty.
Well, let's talk about the last one, 1972, Apollo 17 in December. Last group of men to go to the moon. I remember it was Gene Cernan, Harrison Schmitt, and I forget the guy that stayed in orbit while they were the last people to walk on the moon. But let's back up to the little town of Ponce Inlet.
Okay.
My house was a block from the dock, and there was almost all headboats, offshore headboats, not the sport fishing fleet like we have here. And then, of course, the ocean was a block one way, the inlet was a block the other way, and these big headboats every morning, they would crank up. And as kids, I was 10, 12, 13 years old. My best friend was Frankie Timmons, and his dad was the godfather of the fleet. He ran the Mary Ann. All these guys were ex-Navy, too. All these back in the good old days. We're going back to 1972.
Right.
But one of the things, we would typically go out 20 to 35 miles, snapper and grouper fish on the regular spots east of Ponce Inlet. But for the moon launches, we would do what they call a 3 o'clock trip. We'd leave at 3 in the morning, and we'd run down the beach, the 50 miles to the gantries, to where the rocket was sitting on the launch pad. And back in those days, you could get within a mile of the beach. So they did a special trip. And what it meant was we got to go, instead of going 30 miles, we got to go 60 miles further than we could go on a regular trip. And so all the fishing territory was virgin territory. And so we'd go down there, we'd leave at 3 in the morning, and me and Frankie, now remember, we're 13 years old. The deal was we would go as what they call bait boys. And at a point, wherever we went fishing, we would cut the bait up, and then we would bait hooks, untangle lines, while the first and the second mate did all the gaffing and the heavy work. What an adventure. And I used to get seasick just about every time. But the moon trip was exciting. So Frankie and I would take our sleeping bags, climb on that boat at 3 o'clock in the morning, get up on the sun deck, and there were life rafts, those red ring life rafts, and we'd crawl on one of them and go to sleep. And the dry exhaust stack would be smoking. And it was an adventure of the highest order. And usually a few minutes before we got to the fishing grounds at daylight, the first mate would wake us up, "Get on down there, boys, start cutting bait." We'd cut bait. And anyway, so we caught red snapper. It's mostly what we caught in an area that you normally couldn't fish. Now all of that's regulated. And around, let's say that last one I remember was 1 o'clock lunchtime. And they had gotten pretty good at getting them off on time by that point in the Apollo program. And keep in mind, Justin, my father was a NASA employee. He was right over there at the VAB building. Uh-huh. So on the day of this last launch, and we did many of them, we did Apollo 11, we did all of them. But he was over there working the launch, and he was 1 mile on one side of the launch pad, and we were a mile or two offshore. And that was the coolest thing, because Frank would say, "All right, wind up all your lines." We'd be 10 or 12 miles off the beach, and we'd run in there with 30 minutes to go within 1 mile of the beach, and looking at that thing smoldering and that steam coming off of it, sitting on the launch pad, knowing that there were 3 men up on top of that thing. And I don't know if you ever laid eyes on a Saturn V, but they put off, maybe not as much as the Artemis did, but it was impressive. And that thing would come up and go, they always went right to the northeast, right over the boat, right over us.
Oh, that's cool.
And the sound doesn't get to you at first. It takes you a few minutes. But when the sound came, the whole ocean would get a little chop on it, just from the concussion or whatever that word is. It's just really amazing. And that thing would go on off, and it was a thrill. And that trip would sell out every year. And it's one of the great memories of my childhood. And I've shared with you before that on Apollo 1, at that time we lived in Titusville, which is literally right just west across the Indian River from the launch pads. And you could see the launch pads from our bedroom window. And one day my mom says, "When your father comes home today," there's 5 kids. And I was the worst. And I was the middle. I was the brat.
Don't say.
And my dad, she said, "When he comes home today, you toe the line. Don't ask him any questions. Don't say anything to him. Go to your room and don't talk to your father."
And why did Captain Marty's mother say for Captain Marty not to speak to Captain Marty's father that day? We'll find out when we come back.
Hey y'all, Captain Marty here to tell you that when my friends are in the market for a new boat engine, repair, or repower, I send them to the best in the business, and that's at Ratcliffe Marine in Bellhaven. Ratcliffe Marine is your official Honda outboard dealer. Honda motors are designed to get you on the water fast and get you back to the dock safely and quickly. Ratcliffe Marine is best known as the largest repower center in North Carolina. So when you're in the market for a new motor or you need your Honda service, go to Ratcliffe Marine, 865 Highway 264, Bellhaven. And sure enough, my dad came home later that day with his briefcase, and he had a really bad look on his face. Something had. Anyway, that was the day that the 3 astronauts burned to death on Apollo 1. The first one when they were testing using pure oxygen,
right?
And they got a spark and they were incinerated. And he was right there. He was in the what they call the blockhouse, which is where they put certain people when they shoot the rocket up. So anyway, and I'll tell more stories, but that was those launch trips, great fishing, and then you got to see the rockets go up in a way no one else could. It was a great memory.